Here's another video of how I went from making 150K, 15K as a new grad to making over 220K the next year. For me, there was no magic secret. It was just working hard, doing a lot of overtime, and saying yes to every opportunity. I worked on average 50 to 70 hours a week. I know it's crazy, but that's just kind of what I did. Let's dive into working hard. Some will say I'm crazy for working so many hours, but in my personal opinion, we all been a student for so many years, 4 years of undergrad, 3 years of master, maybe a couple years of like gap year doing like getting more experience. For me, after I finally graduated, it's finally time to start grinding, right? Start making money. As a student, you didn't have any money. You were having a lot of loans. So for me, that was kind of my incentive of why I wanted to do a lot of overtime and, have bills to pay and stuff like that. Everyone has their own reason. Also, the more you work, the more exposure you get as a PA. You become a strong and independent PA quicker. You remember all these experiences. A lot of it, when you work in a specialty, it becomes so repetitive, like certain workouts you want to do and stuff like that. So it's great. Reason why working hard is great as well, because when I interviewed for another full-time position, they saw that I only had like 2 years of practicing. But I explained to them I work consistently 20 shifts a month. 20 shifts or 12-hour shifts, which means I can have more experience and it's more comparable to someone with 3 years or 4 years of experience, and it kind of appealed to them more. And you're able to kind of be more confident in your answers and tell them certain scenarios because you have all these exposure and you work so much. Obviously, work-life balance is important. But for me, I wanted to prioritize working more, paying off my loans quicker, gaining that experience more, and it's nice to have a little extra cash. For me, this is why I strongly believe in finding a job where it's 3 12-hour shifts a week. Because if you're already at a job 6 a.m., why not be there for an extra couple hours already? But I guess some people have children and, they need to pick them up from school and other responsibilities. But for me, this is what worked, doing 3 12-hour shifts. Because if you're only doing 3 shifts a week, I feel like I had a lot of extra time and relaxed. So it allowed me to do an extra 1 to 2 shifts a week. And then, I personally didn't feel too overburdened, versus if you're already doing 5 8-hour shifts a week. Doing that extra shift on a weekend, it can probably be a lot tiring. Feels like you don't have any days off. So now let's dive into saying yes to every opportunity. For me, a year into working as a new grad, I finally felt comfortable enough to know some things. Obviously, there's a lot to learn in medicine, and you'll always constantly be learning. But for me, what happened was a boss from another specialty, similar to my specialty, I did neurosurgery, and they needed help in neurology. They had a couple PAs out on leave, and they asked if I could do overtime and help them out. At the time, I felt comfortable saying yes because I knew I wanted to work more and get that extra pay, but also I know learning more about neurology will help me be a stronger PA in neurosurgery, and I can kind of connect the dots with both fields, and it makes you stronger. If you ever come across the opportunity to take, to work extra shifts or learn more or do something, you should always do it, because one, you can just try it out, and after a couple shifts, if you don't feel comfortable, it's not something you like, obviously you could back out of it because it's a per diem shift. It's not something you have to fully commit and do it for years and years, hopefully. It's something that you can add to your resume right off the bat. It's not like you start one full-time shift, work a couple years, start another. This way, for me, when I keep taking opportunities to work in other specialties, I've been a PA for almost 3 years now, and I've 4 or 5 different hospitals and specialties on my list, which I feel is great because it makes you look strong and looks that you work in all these different specialties and you're able to take on the heat and know all these different types of things, which is great. For me, a year into working into neurosurgery and not doing neurology or any of these other specialties, at that time I didn't know that this would be so much value to me that one, it gives you a lot of extra income, but it shows that your worth and your opportunity to help out others, and you'll get that same respect, and that karma will come back to you because they'll help you out by giving you extra shifts and stuff like that. Any other other opportunities of working into different specialties, they'll know to reach out to you. So it's all about networking as well. I never knew or thought ahead or planned ahead that this would help and bring me to where I am today. So definitely make sure, like, if anyone asks you if you want to work more or learn about a different specialty, just try it if you're comfortable with it. But definitely you should be out of your comfort zone. You don't want to always settle and be comfortable. Being comfortable is nice, but it's always good to push yourself out and learn more. To summarize, if you are able to work hard and open to learning, you will continue to climb up the ladder. You never know where it will bring you, but this is kind of how it exponentially increased my income to 115K to over 220K. And it was, it's nice, but you're also learning a lot, and you'll be grateful for when you look back, because a year later, you'll definitely feel very comfortable and feel like a stronger PA. Like always, if you have any questions, feel free to comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe.